Meghan a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family go along with this? And what's going to happen now that this has come out? This is a punishable crime. This is fraud at the highest levels.
It looks like the stomach is fake, where the baby, I swear that's the first thing I thought.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. You know, this is what it is.
Meghan Markle's official Sussex squad troll leader has finally addressed those moonbump claims. But of course it's all our fault, according to Christopher Boozy, the biggest troll on the internet. The bloke who claimed that Catherine was faking the videos at the height of her cancer battle. But this cretin, this hypocrite, is trying to say it's all our fault.
Every royal mother in living memory did the same simple thing. The late Queen did it, so did Diana. Catherine did it 3 times over. Each of them produced a doctor, a named obstetrician, a signed witness who could put their name to it and say yes. That baby came out of that woman in that room on that day. Meghan Markle is the only one who never has. And this week, the question she has dodged for 7 years finally got too loud to ignore. A confidant of the late Queen cracked it open on live television, and then Milo Yiannopoulos said the quiet part out loud.
And he says B, at least one pregnancy was via surrogate, making the child ineligible for the line of succession. C, she wore a moon bump or other fake pregnancy tummy. Now,
through all of it, one voice has been louder, drier, and more savage than the rest. Lady Colin Campbell, the woman who has been pointing at this from the day Archie arrived. And Lady C isn't asking the small question whether Meghan wore a fake bump. She's asking the one that's far harder to wriggle out of. Where is the proof? Not a mood board, not a soft focus snap posted on an anniversary, a name on a certificate, and a doctor who'll stand behind it. Now here's the thing that should stop you scrolling. A woman who answers every slight, who fires off a lawyer's letter the second anyone looks at her sideways, has gone completely silent on the one accusation you'd think she'd be desperate to kill. And when the loudest person in the room suddenly has nothing to say, Lady C reckons that silence isn't innocence. It's an answer.
I would be very disappointed that people would be so easily duped by this con woman.
And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
Stay with me. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why the palace has been tiptoeing around a 400-year-old rule since 2019, and why even the people who used to laugh this off have gone very quiet.
And I have spoken to doctors, nurses, many women who've given birth to children, and all of them say the same thing. Those photographs of Meghan and the way the baby bump performed are totally unexpected, and they're not aware of any baby, any pregnant woman who is genuinely pregnant having her bump perform the way Meghan's has performed.
Let's start with the part that needs no theory at all, just paperwork. When William and Catherine had their 3 children, the palace did what the palace always does. It put a little easel out in the forecourt, and on it, for the whole world to read, were the details. Time of birth, weight, and the name of the obstetrician who delivered the child. For George, 3 named doctors. For Charlotte, 2. For Louis, 2. Then came Archie in May 2019. And the line where the doctor's name should sit, empty. Lilibet came along 2 years later, empty again.
do you remember Meghan actually refused to use the hospital that was usually used by royals and refused to use all of the normal medical staff, and there was all of the weirdness over the timing of the birth of Archie.
Now, the Sussexes will tell you that's privacy. They wanted a quiet, modern birth, away from the circus, and who could blame them? But Lady C has a line for that, and it's been doing the rounds for years. There is a very big difference, she says, between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is not telling people which hospital. Secrecy is making sure there's no independent soul alive who can confirm what went on in that room, and it gets stranger. Archie's birth certificate was quietly rewritten about a month after he was born. The original named the mother as Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. The amended one stripped Rachel Meghan clean off, leaving only the title,
the royal family is constrained by the law. Harry managed to get Archie's birth certificate as a result of the claiming that Archie was born at Portland Hospital to a woman who was identified at the time of the birth as the Duchess of Sussex, but was not Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, because had it been Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, they wouldn't have needed to amend the birth certificate to eliminate Meghan as the possibility of the woman who gave birth to the baby. There's all of that. These are all legal realities that the palace can't work its way around. You can't work your way around. I can't work my way around. The mainstream media can't work its way around.
To this day, the palace and the Sussexes have never agreed on whose decision that was or why. And the way Lady C reads it is brutal. You do not take a woman's name off a certificate, she says, unless there's a question about whether that woman was the one who gave birth. And then there's the doctor Meghan did eventually name. Lady C is blunt about it. The obstetrician she pointed to, she says, doesn't just deliver babies. She specializes in surrogacy. Her husband is a surrogacy expert.
Let's remember she intended to call the child Lilibet. And let's remember that the obstetrician that she has named as her obstetrician not only deals with surrogacy, but her husband is an expert in surrogacy, and that their practices overlap. Let's remember all of that. And let's remember also that the doctor immediately, as soon as the child was born, cancelled for after that month every other patient. It's virtually unheard of for a doctor to do something like that.
And right after the birth, that practice reportedly cleared its books and canceled every other patient for the month. The cheek of it, honestly. Lady C's verdict is dry. It's virtually unheard of for a doctor to do that, she says, unless there's something they'd rather not have walking through the waiting room. Now, that proves nothing on its own. It's a rumor, a swirling one, the kind that simply will not die. But it's a fair question, and Meghan has had 7 years to answer it with a single sheet of paper. She hasn't.
So she had to accept, that the things would be happening on a national level. And that's what the royal family has to accept as well. And most of them understand that. And so you make announcements. You tell people, the child's going to be born. You tell it where it's going to be born. You tell it when it was born. You show the child at a certain point. You tell us who the godparents are going to be. And we all enjoy this. And we're very much then, we, the general public, very much on the side of the person doing that and sort of enjoying it because they are a family at the centre of the nation. And that's all part of it. So to deny us that, I think, was sort of, kicking in causing trouble and showing she was going to do it her way. And that's when things began to go wrong.
Here's where it stops being a few YouTubers and a comment section. Hugo Vickers is not a tabloid hothead. He's a royal historian, a man who knew the late Queen, who has spent his life inside the velvet rope, the sort who weighs every word like he's diffusing something, which is exactly why what he said on television landed the way it did.
Hugo Vickers is a cautious guy. He's a guy who has very close connections to the royal family, and a lot of what he says you have to read between the lines. But it was very telling to me that he seemed to be speaking about the concern within the British royal family and the sort of puzzlement that she is the only woman who gave birth and then subsequently went into labour later in the day. They know something's up here, don't they? Or they at least suspect something's up.
He pointed at the timeline. The official one, the palace announced that Meghan had gone into labor in the early hours of the morning. Then, within about 20 minutes, it announced she had already given birth at 5:26 that same morning. Read that back slowly. The announcement that she was in labor came after the announcement that the baby was already here. As Vickers put it, in that careful historian's way, she is the only woman he knows of who, if you follow the timeline, gave birth and then went into labor later the same day. And Lady C, who does not do careful. Translated it for the rest of us.
What Hugo is actually saying is the birth has raised questions of fraudulence because you cannot give birth after you have given birth. So he's saying the announcement and the whole failure of the timeline to coordinate.
What Hugo is really saying, she said, is that the birth raises questions of fraudulence. You cannot go into labor after you have already given birth, and it isn't only the timing. Listen to the birth story itself, the one Harry tells in his own memoir. A difficult labor, 2 epidurals, and then, by his account, the couple were back home at Frogmore Cottage within a couple of hours. Royal watchers who have been through it themselves can't make that stand up.
She did give birth, and then she'd given birth, several hours before. She'd had 2 epidurals, and then she was home within 2 hours, and now we've learned that she'd suffered from dangerous, the eclampsia. And I'm sorry, no woman after 2 epidurals is just walking out of hospital a couple of hours later, sent on her merry way.
So why does a muddled announcement matter so much? It's about a rule most people have never heard of. For centuries, royal births were witnessed. Officially, a government minister sat in the next room. It seems mad now, but it grew out of a real scandal, the so-called warming pan affair of 1688, when a queen was accused of smuggling in someone else's baby to secure the throne. After that, the rule was simple. The heirs get independently verified, a signed-off witnessed arrival.
Centuries of healthy skepticism and caution were therefore discarded. It now emerges rather naively, thereby letting in the possibility of an interloper whose actions were more reminiscent of a hustling operator than a woman of good and regal repute, with the result that her actions would actually encourage the public to question whether one of the greatest scams of all time had been perpetrated upon the royal family and the several nations whose head of state originates according to the rules of legitimacy, which the now plainly wise custom of witnessed births, clearly signed off by legitimate medical witnesses, were intended to preclude and had since 1689 precluded.
And Lady C's point, the one running underneath this entire story, is this. For the first time in the modern history of the monarchy, no independent medical witness has signed off on the arrival of 2 children who sit in the line of succession. Every other royal mother cleared that bar without blinking. This one didn't. Mind you, she's the one who keeps telling us how badly she's been treated.
Meghan at the Albert Hall. How many weeks pregnant was she supposed to be? Was it about 8 weeks? And she looks as if she's at least 5 months pregnant.
Now let's talk about the part that went viral. The historians can argue about certificates all they like. The internet, meanwhile, has been doing what the internet does, looking at the pictures. And the pictures, frankly, did Meghan no favors. Start with the one she posted herself, a near-bare baby bump on a mood board, put out to celebrate a wedding anniversary. And the first thing Lady C did was the thing every woman watching did.
Meghan didn't gain any weight on her bust. They gained weight on their arms. Meghan didn't gain... Look at those skinny arms. And also, why is the belly several shades browner than anywhere else? It's not supposed to be browner. Skin, when it stretches, gets lighter. It doesn't get darker.
She looked at the arms. Look at her arms, she said. They're stick thin. When a woman gains weight in pregnancy, she gains it everywhere. The bust, the face, the legs. And then Lady C delivered the line that sent the whole thing trending. Why, she asked, is the belly several shades browner than everywhere else? Skin doesn't go darker when it stretches. It goes lighter. So either it's been photoshopped or, in her words, she's strapped on a nice brown belly. Then there's the famous 65 pounds. Meghan told her own podcast she'd gained 65 pounds. Lady C's reply was pure music hall. Where did it go? She asked. It was never 65.
The weight didn't go on her arms, it didn't go on her face, it didn't go on her legs, it didn't go on her bust. Where did that 65 pounds go? It was never 65. Also, Meghan has a propensity to exaggeration. Now, there's no doubt that she did gain weight after both children were born, but she didn't gain weight before, certainly Archie was born. And off that photograph of her being about 27 months pregnant with Lily, as she's about to drop kid, or so she'd like us to believe, she has clearly not gained weight anywhere else except around the moonbump and the brown moonbump. So, I mean, are we dumb? I really wonder who is the fool. Is it us or is it Meghan? Because somebody's detached from reality, and I don't think it's the rest of the world. I think it's Megsy baby.
She's got to be, Lady C cackled. At least 27 months pregnant. You couldn't make it up. And the ultrasound Meghan tucked into that same mood board? The amateur sleuths had a field day. The thing carried no hospital name, no reference number, no date. A grainy little picture floating in space, asking very politely to be believed. And then came the dance. For Lilibet's 4th birthday, Meghan posted a never-before-seen video of herself bouncing around a hospital room, supposedly 9 months pregnant, trying to bring on labor.
How you can bend down, how you can open your legs and go right down, which is actually incredibly crude. And she's just letting it all go. Why has she waited 4 years, on Lilibet's birthday, to actually show when she was born? You know, it's absolutely horrendous.
21 million views in a single day. It did not do what she hoped. Even Megyn Kelly, who'd waved this whole thing away for years, took one look and changed her mind.
It looks like what you'd get if you put like a pillowcase full of like socks or something under your dress. You gotta look up close. There's very strange bumps coming off of that pregnant belly. I don't know why, Stu, but for the first time ever, I'm kind of like, is this something we should be indulging? Because it doesn't look normal to me. The belly doesn't look normal, doesn't look like where a pregnant woman's belly is, and I don't understand what all those bumps on the belly are. I don't get it.
That's interesting. Yeah, it does look different, I guess. I mean, I suppose it's possible that, I don't know. I wasn't there. But I will say I noticed the same thing you're noticing looking at it. I mean, it's the first thing that I think kind of pops into your mind. It's like, what's going on there?
Why is her stomach so bumpy? Maybe they had stuck some monitors on there, but normally they don't give you like remote monitors on your belly. I've had 3 kids. All the monitors they stick on you are connected to the thing that's right next to your hospital bed. She wasn't wired up at all. I don't know what's going on under there.
It looks, she said, like a pillowcase full of socks shoved under a dress. She'd had 3 children herself, and she made a simple point. You're wired up to monitors the entire time you're in that bed, and there wasn't a wire in sight. This is what Lady C calls duper's delight, the compulsion to flaunt the very thing you ought to be hiding. Nobody, she says, is keeping this story alive but Meghan herself. She can't stop poking it, and every time she does, another few million people get a good long look.
35 million people have looked at her bouncing belly, and I mean, it is an enormous number around the world because it is breathtaking. That's what she wants, my goodness me, I've done it.
So why would anyone do this? There's a motive under all of it, and Lady C keeps circling back to the oldest one in the book, the line of succession.
If Meghan had admitted that, her children would not be in the line of succession. They might have an honorific title, but all she has ever wanted is for the kids to be in that line of succession so that her hopes of one day passing the British throne down through her line is not ruled out.
If a child is born through a surrogate, the rumor goes, that complicates their claim to a place in the line. And the line, Lady C argues, was the whole point all along. The grievance, the Netflix deal, the titles they fought tooth and nail to keep. None of it lands the same if the children aren't quite where everyone assumed they were. That's the rumor doing the rounds anyway. Draw your own conclusions. And here's where it turns genuinely sad. The person who, by several accounts, was most troubled by all of it was the late Queen herself.
And the Queen could not believe that she had given this girl, this scrubber with the most appalling reputation, that she had given her an opportunity. And she had believed that because Meghan had allowed her to believe that she wanted to join the team and work as a royal and do good as a royal. And she felt utterly betrayed that she had been manipulated the way she had by Meghan. And she also felt betrayed that Harry had been manipulated and that Harry had voluntarily jumped on the bandwagon and slit the Queen's throat.
Lady C has said the Queen thought the whole surrogacy business stank to high heaven, that she was quietly furious, but that her hands were tied, legally and morally. As head of the Church of England, she could hardly start demanding tests of her own great-grandchildren.
She was also furious about the whole surrogacy business and all of the speculation and all of the antics surrounding that. She thought the whole thing stank to high heaven, but there was nothing but her hands were tied, not only legally, but morally.
So she did the only thing she could. She said nothing. And, Lady C points out, she made sure there was never a single photograph of herself holding Lilibet. Not one. Make of that what you will. It wasn't the only time the Queen felt played. Look at the name itself. Lilibet, the Queen's own childhood nickname, the most private name in that entire family. Lady C says Her Majesty had been told the baby would be called Elizabeth and only found out it had been turned into Lilibet after the deed was done.
And she was absolutely spitting bricks when she discovered that they had named the child Lilibet. But by then, of course, it was too late to do anything. So she did the gracious thing and just, well, she didn't keep her feelings that much to herself, because she did express her feelings privately to certain people. But she was absolutely spitting bricks about it. But Meghan has inadvertently admitted that yet again she indulged in duper's delight.
She was, in Lady C's words, absolutely spitting bricks. Now, the Sussex camp has an answer for all this, naturally. Their loudest defender marched into Newsweek and declared the entire moonbump conversation a cruelty rooted in racism. There's just one snag. That same defender is the man who once insisted Catherine's cancer photographs had been faked by the palace. The brass neck on that one.
The moonbump story can no longer be ignored. Now, Meghan might try and ignore it, but it's out there in the mainstream. And the fact that Christopher Boozy, the spiritual leader of the Sussex squad, Meghan Markle's chief troll, is now publicly for the first time acknowledging that there is a real issue.
So forgive Lady C and half the internet for not sitting still for the lecture. When the man crying conspiracy theory is himself the internet's most famous conspiracy theorist, the accusation rather loses its sting.
She gave birth to them, and she has quite deliberately caused doubt, and she has created mischief, knowing that it would damage the royal family, which would show a level of spite and malice that is truly not only sick, but evil.
And this is the part that should bother you most, whichever way you lean. For years, the official line was that this was just trolls, cruel, anonymous people inventing things about a woman's body. And do you know what? If that were all there was to it, I'd have no time for it either. But look at who is talking now. A historian who knew the Queen, a commentator who has sat across from every senior royal correspondent in Britain, Megyn Kelly on American Primetime, and this week, Milo Yiannopoulos saying it in public.
But now, Milo Yiannopoulos, the American right-wing firebrand, is joining the party. For people who don't know, Milo Yiannopoulos, a very controversial American political figure, but he's been right first on a load of stuff that the mainstream media have avoided.
That is not a basement anymore. That's the mainstream backing slowly, nervously, into something it spent 5 years calling unspeakable.
I believe that they lied, and I believe that the royal family didn't join in on this big cover-up. I think that they lied to the royal family, and by the time the royal family found out, it was too late.
Even the Daily Mail finally went there, with one of its own columnists more or less begging Meghan to, in her words, come clean.
Come clean! It is a case of saying that, isn't it? It's saying, come clean. If you've got nothing to hide, then, then what's the big deal?
And don't forget Tom Bower. He laid a version of all of this out in his book, in black and white, name attached. The Sussexes threatened to sue at the drop of a hat, the way they do with everyone. They have never once tried it with Bower. Lady C's reading of that is dry as ever. People who sue over everything, she says, tend not to sue over the things that happen to be true.
Sussexes only will talk to people who repeat their own narrative.
Yes.
And who they can control. So the idea that you could get the truth from the Sussexes is contradiction.
And here's the bit I keep chewing on. Every single one of these people is asking for the same modest thing, not admit you faked it. Just show us what every other royal mother showed us without a fuss. The way Lady C frames it is the cleverest turn in the whole business. This is not, she insists, something she can prove. It's a question Meghan could end in an afternoon and chooses not to. And a woman who has never once, in her entire public life, passed up the chance to defend herself does not suddenly go quiet over a question that's beneath her. She goes quiet when she's got nothing she's willing to put on the table. She could end this in a single afternoon. One phone call, one document, and the whole thing dies. She won't make the call, and that silence is doing more damage than any answer ever could. So where does all of this leave us? right back at Lady C's one question, the simplest one in the world.
Fact that people doubt whether she was ever pregnant with either of Harry's children. If she's so concerned about that, why doesn't she simply do what every other royal woman has always done and issue the proof that she produced those children, signed off by doctors who are able to verify that those babies popped out from her? It's really simple. If she wants to clear up the mystery that she has created, she has the means to do so.
Why, she asks, doesn't Meghan simply do what every royal woman has always done? Produce the proof, signed off by doctors. Catherine did it, Eugenie did it, Beatrice, Princess Margaret, the late Queen, and yes, Diana. Absolutely Diana. Every last one of them did it without a second thought. It would take an afternoon, one call to a doctor, one document. The whole cruel conspiracy would die overnight. Meghan would be utterly vindicated, and every one of us would owe her an apology. She hasn't done it. In 7 years, through a Netflix series, an Oprah interview, a memoir's worth of grievance, and 100 lawyers' letters, she has never produced the one piece of paper that would end it all in a morning. And Lady C, who has watched this family for 40 years, who was right about Diana, right about Charles, and right about a great deal else besides, has stopped expecting an answer. The resolution, she predicts, won't be a dramatic confession or a grand exposure. It'll be quiet, a slow, careful removal of Harry and the children from the positions and the line, handled behind closed doors. In that way, the palace deals with everything it cannot say out loud. Perhaps she's right, perhaps she's wrong. But until that one document appears, the question is not going anywhere. And the longer the silence runs, the louder it gets. The most damning thing in this entire story has nothing to do with a brown belly, or a blank certificate, or a muddled morning announcement. It's far simpler than that. A woman who will fight about absolutely anything has, on this one thing, decided not to fight at all. So here's where I hand it over to you. Honestly, what do you make of it all? If Meghan has nothing to hide, why not just show the proof and put this to bed forever? Or is Lady C right, and the silence already tells you everything you need to know? Drop your verdict in the comments. I read every single one. Hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who care about these stories. And subscribe. There's a lot more coming this week. The next one lands in a few days, and it's the single detail about Lilibet's birth certificate that still doesn't add up. You'll want to be here.